already.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Terry Holland, trainer of NLP, hypnosis, and timeline therapy.
And I'm Stefano Casalter. I am Terry's sidekick.
There we go.
Yeah. I'm here to crack jokes and look good. Competitive speaking. This is my favorite topic. I love competitive speaking.
Cool.
For example, in Toastmasters, we go to learn how to write speeches. We write a speech and we throw it away, run another speech and throw it away. And we keep doing that. But we never get really good at writing and rewriting speeches, because great speeches are rewritten. They're never just written. Like, there's never a time you're going to come up with something great the first time. With some, you might, but you got to hone it, keep honing it over and over. And that's what competitive speaking allows you to do. The competition is so tough in competitive speaking. It's the little things that make the big difference. So when you go out and compete, you have to make sure that everything has a purpose. Every gesture has a purpose. Every word has a purpose. And some competitive speakers will practice their speeches hundreds of times. And for example, my winning speech in 2015, I literally practiced that over 300 times.
Wow.
Can you see how valuable that is, though, as a speaker? And as a professional speaker, you're going to be using the same speeches over and over. So what a great way to learn how to hone your craft by competing. So we got some pro tips today.
Yeah.
And here's Terry's favorite tip. Number one is write out your speeches.
I hate writing out my speeches, but I know it's valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned that from you, because I used to not do that. And Stefano would say, well, how can I help you if you don't write it out? Write out your speech. And I'd fight with him on it. And then when I finally did it, I realized how valuable it is. I still don't love it, but I'll do it.
Absolutely. You see, when I first sat down with my mentor, Ian, he said to me, he goes, well, where's your speech? And I say, well, it's up here. And he's like, okay, well, he said exactly what I said. He goes, well, how am I going to help you if I can't see it? So go home, write it out, and send it to me so I can read through, and then we'll go through it after that. And I didn't like it either because, well, there's a few things we have to think about when we're writing out our speeches. First of all, the written speech is far different than the speech that you hear. So you don't talk the way you write. It's completely different. So that's your pro tip number one, is write how you speak. At first, you may have to write it out word for word. And if you're not used to writing as you speak, just write it out as you read. But then rewrite it as you speak. And a couple of wonderful tools, essential tools, if you're a competitive speaker, is a voice recorder, or even better, a video camera.
Right.
I hate seeing myself on camera.
Me too.
I can't stand the way I look, and I can't stand the way I sound, because we're all our own worst critics.
Right.
But it is the number one tool for becoming a better speaker, is watching yourself on video. Then you get to see all the little bad habits that you've acquired throughout the years, and you can make those little tweaks on for getting better. What if you don't like writing it word for word? What if you're one of those people that are more audio, that hears things better than they can write, like yourself? And one technique that you told me about that you did was transcription.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to transcribe my speeches so I can either just record it and then I'll send it off to somewhere like rev.com and I'll have them transcribe it, and they'll transcribe it word for word. So it comes out exactly as I said it. Or you can use something like Google Documents. They have a voice transcriber on there. I haven't used that. I heard it works really well where it just types out as you speak. You can do that. Macs have them built in where you can just do voice to text.
Mhm.
A little bit slow. I find I have to really slow down my speech to do it, but it works.
Absolutely. There are little things and nuances that you're going to have to keep going back to. And how else can you do it unless you actually write it out? So I say to everybody, write out your speech.
Yeah. When I started doing that, it made a big difference for me.
Mhm.
It really did, because I realized that I couldn't edit anything or like really fine tune my speech unless I knew exactly word for word what I was going to say.
Mhm.
Just
Good
a tip
point.
for you, Stefano, that let me teach you about.
So what's the next pro tip?
What is the next pro tip?
Mastering your message. Jinx.
Yeah.
Realizing that your speech can never be stronger than the quality of your message. And that's true. You have to be able to have a crystal clear message.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of the people that I coach, when we first started, we would say, what's your message? Well, they have the story, but they don't have a message. Well, what are you trying to get across?
Right.
It's a good story, but it's confusing. It's confusing to the ears. You don't have a solid, motivating message to take away from it. So if you're not clear in your message,
Mm-hmm.
your audience is not going to be either.
Yeah. I agree.
Yes. See, we obsess about the quality and clarity of our message.
Yeah.
Because we know it's important to be a good speaker. To you too. I think that's important.
Yeah. I used to not know that, or I didn't realize that when I first started in Toastmasters. And the first time I competed in Toastmasters, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back afterwards, I realized why I didn't do so well. It was because I didn't have a clear message.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of messages moving through, and I didn't have one clear message.
That's an awesome point, because some people think that, well, the more messages you have in there, the more powerful the speech is going to be. No, it has to be crystal clear. One single message, especially in competitive speaking. For those that don't know about competitive speaking, it's usually a 5 to 7 minute speech. And within 5 to 7 minutes, you've only got enough time to tell one story.
Yeah.
Tell one story and tell one point. Make one point with that one story. That's basically all you have. Sometimes I've seen people win by adding 2 or 3 stories in there, little minor stories, but they all have the same message. There's no mismessage. One crystal clear message.
Yeah.
And important thing is your message has to be audience centered.
Yeah.
It's not about you. Your story may be about you, but the message is for your audience.
You mean it's not all about me?
Well, yes, no. It's got to be about your audience. So how do we do that? Well, use a lot of you-focused statements. Mm-hmm. I think we're listening to a couple of years ago, Darren LaCroix as a world champion of public speaking, was talking about that. Use you-focused statements. So just to give you an example, when during my last international speech, I used, my message was, don't let fear interfere. Mm-hmm. And there are certain points where I would turn it around and make it audience centered. So for example, I realize all the things I'd be putting off in my life. And I say, what have you been putting off? Is there something in your life, etc.? So that's an example of a you-focused statement. So you have to kind of turn it around onto your audience so they can relate to it.
Nice.
How about reverse engineering your speech?
Yeah.
And this is something we talk about all the time, is start with your message. If you have a story you want to tell, then you can kind of extract messages from it. Just like the 10 by 10 that we talk about all the time. Write out 10 words or less, 10 different messages that you could possibly get from your story. And as you go through that process, things come up, different things pop up. You'll be thinking, oh, wow, that's a great idea. Oh, yeah, I could use this. More stories will start coming up. It's one of those exercises that just flushes things out of you. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a story picked out yet, reverse engineer it. Think, what is the one thing that you want to tell the world? Your last day, you've got 10 minutes for the rest of your life. You want to tell the world one single thing. What is that? What is that sentence? The one thing. There's a powerful message. Now, once you have that, find out the story that made you discover that. And that's a good topic for a competitive speech.
Absolutely. And I think, I think a good point to make here is that even though this is for competitive speaking that we're talking about right now, anytime you're speaking, there should always be a purpose to why you're speaking. So if you're doing this for competitive speaking, I know for myself working through this, it really helped me every time I was speaking to get clear about the message and the purpose behind why I'm speaking. You should always have a purpose behind any speech or any talk you give. There should be a clear message and a clear purpose. And working through competitive speaking and having to work on that and hone in on those skills makes you a stronger speaker in all aspects.
Mm-hmm. So tell your story, make a point. Mm-hmm. We've visited that already. Your audience doesn't really want, in competitive speeches anyways, they want to be motivated and inspired. They don't want to be educated. So if you have something that's hitting people with facts or things like that, people don't want that. They want to be, well, to put it this way, our good friend Andrew Thompson went on to the World Championships in 2016. And he said the biggest lesson he pulled out of the World Championships was that people want to be entertained.
Yeah.
So you have to be entertaining. Mm-hmm. As I said, the competition is so thick. Everybody at the highest levels are such great speakers that it's the little things that count. And one of those little things, which is a huge thing, is humor.
Yeah.
How to make your speech funny.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my mentor asked my mentor, well, how, does it have to be funny? Like, I've got this serious speech, I want to be serious. He goes, no, it has to be funny. If you want to win, it's got to be funny. Mm-hmm. You have to show humor in your speech. Now your stories. How do you do those little things that make your stories interesting? And I think there's 3 ingredients that you need in your competitive speech if you want to reach the highest levels. And one of those is character. You have to show characters in your stories. In my speeches, I'll use my brother or my mom or my nonna. She makes it into quite a few of my speeches because it adds a lot of humor, and she's a big part of my life.
For sure.
But it's a great character, right? And you show your own characters. You give them names. You have them have dialogue. Mm-hmm. And it's a good way to also add conflict, which is the other element you have to have. There's got to be some sort of suspense. There's got to be some sort of conflict that drives your story. In every single movie that's out there, conflict is number one. If you don't have some sort of conflict in the first minute, or so, you're going to lose people. You ever seen one of those movies that kind of starts slow and you're like,
Mm.
it's not engaging? You have to have conflict. One good technique that we teach is starting with a high sense of drama, a high sense of conflict at the beginning. It gives suspense and it intrigues people and draws them right into your story. What a great way to open, because as soon as you open with something like that, you're hooked. I think about Mission Impossible
I was just thinking that.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's an awesome, that's an epic way to hook people into your story, is start out with something that's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. What's our next one? Next pro tip.
Arm your audience with tools for change.
Mhm.
How can your audience change? How can they make their lives better after hearing your speech? Now, I think that, we're talking about inspirational speech competitions here. So when you're giving inspirational speeches, you have to give people a tool. It's that moment in your own life that helps you overcome, that can be the tool for your audience to use.
Yeah.
So whatever that is, draw it out and state it clearly for them in the conclusion. I think that's the best place to do it. That's the best place to call people to action and have a solid message and give them the tools for that change. They're going to need that in their lives. It helped you. Now let it help them.
Yeah, that's something I learned early on from one of my mentors, Carol Murphy. I would do a speech and she would say, okay, that's great, but what's in it for me? What do you want me to do with that? You just delivered this nice speech, and now what? When I walk away, what do you want me to do? And she would drive that home for me. What do you want me to do with this? Because that's what the audience cares about, is what's in it for me.
That's a good point. I love the what's in it for me. Every time an audience sits down, they're wondering what's in it for me. Why do I have to listen to this person? What are they going to teach me? What am I going to get? Me, which is good.
Yeah.
So you got to feed them that.
Yeah.
Now I have a little twist on that, because there's the old school theory where it's you tell people what you're going to tell them, tell them, and then tell people what you just told them.
Right.
Which is good. That's a good formula.
Yeah.
But the way we like to think about it is hint at what you're going to tell them in an inspirational speech. You have to give some sort of intrigue, a reason for people. You ever watch a mystery movie?
Yeah.
You get a little taste of what's to come, but you don't give them the whole thing. It would be a pretty terrible mystery movie if you had everything up front, right?
That would be, here's the person who did it. And now it's a mystery.
So hint, give little hooks to draw people in.
Yeah.
They'll make up their own mind about what they're going to get from it. Give them just enough, but don't hit them over. Now, this is different if you're training. If you're training people or doing a live video like we are, you got to hit people right away within 8 seconds what they're going to learn.
Yeah.
But in an inspirational speech, you don't do that, especially in a competitive speech, is tease people into it rather than giving it right out.
Yeah, I agree.
Ooh, this is the biggest tip we can give is practice. You got to practice. You got to practice and practice and practice. Just know that the competitors at the highest level are practicing their speeches hundreds of times. So are you going to leave it on the table just practicing 5, 10 times?
Probably.
Yeah. But I see people do this. They want to succeed in competitive speaking, but they don't drill their speech. Drill it. Do it. Practice it over and over. Go back and tweak it over and over. There's little things that you'll make every single time you'll do a speech. You'll think, oh, maybe this word will be better, or maybe that word will be better.
Yeah.
These are good points where if you have a coach, have a mentor, you need another set of eyes looking from outside at your speech. It's hard when it's all up here. You can't look at it in the same way. You can't be objective.
Exactly.
That's why I send my speeches to you.
Yeah. Likewise.
Yes. It's the combination of two people on one thing really makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
So share your speech, write it out, and send it to a coach or a mentor or someone that can help you on your way.
Definitely. And someone you can trust to give you valuable, good feedback. Right? Because I could do my speeches for my husband and he'll tell me some stuff, but this isn't what he does. It's not his wheelhouse. So whether that feedback is valuable or the right kind of feedback, hit or miss. Or you could call up your best friend and have them watch you. They might not know what they're looking for. Or in Toastmasters, we've talked about this before, you can get all kinds of feedback because you have speakers of all different levels and experience and backgrounds, and you might not get the right feedback. So it's important to have that person you're listening to giving you valuable feedback and the right kind of feedback that you can apply.
Exactly. What I remember, I used to get discouraged when I first started competing because I would get conflicting statements.
Yeah.
I'd have some people, well, go stand and do this. And then someone else would be, no, don't do that. Go do this. And I would be overwhelmed, thinking, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? And he said, well, you're practicing and you're getting feedback. You get lots of it. Pull it all in. Look for commonalities. Disregard everything else, or you could consider it, of course, but look for the commonalities. Those are the things you should take notice of. And then anything else, if it's a speaker you really respect, if it's somebody that you think, wow, this guy's a great speaker, guy is a great speaker, I want to be like that, they give me this advice, I better take it. Yeah, but not everybody's qualified to give great advice.
And at the end of the day, remember, it's your speech and you're the one up there delivering it. So it also has to feel right to you.
So yeah, there's some pro tips.
Yeah.
For competitive speaking. Write out your speech, master your message, add humor, suspense, conflict, arm your tools for change, and practice.
Yeah. Good.
Anything else? Yeah, that was fun. Okay.
That was good. Yeah. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask or post them below. We're always happy to answer any questions you have. And if you feel this is useful for someone you know, share it with your friends.
Yeah, like it, share it, subscribe.
All of those.
Yes.
All the things.
All the things.
All the things. All right. Thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll be back again next week.
Good night. Have a good night now.